I think we can move forward now to the day's papers and see what we have. Let's look at let's start with Nigerian News Direct. You can see here what they're saying. The lead story says, coups, no place for military rule in Africa. That's according to Tinubu. You see it right there on the front page. The writer says Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso alliance won't weaken ECOWAS. Won't weaken ECOWAS's resolve for democracy as ECOWAS announces re-engagement plans, demands short transition strategy, assures Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau president support over disturbances. So that is right there for you on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. You also have a number of other stories right there. Kaduna drone mishap, senators donate December salaries to victims. Okay, you heard right. They donate December salaries to victims, many don't be taking any salaries home. Will the House of Reps do same? Just wondering. MPC meeting, hike interest rate to reduce inflation. IMF advises CBN. And you also see our airstrikes kill terrorist kingpin, others in Niger. That's according to the Nigerian Air Force. So we'll leave it there for Nigerian News Direct.
And turn next to this Nigeria, which leads with something entirely different. Listen to this. Nigeria's oil revenue shrouded in secrecy. SERAP, that's a Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project, demands full disclosure from federal government of all NNPCL daily production exports, may seek legal redress in 7 days to push for compliance. Remember, a lot of attention is being turned on the activities, the daily operations of the NNPCL and the demand for more accountability. I recall the former emir was asking the other day, where are the dollars? Where are the dollars from the NNPC? So Sarah seems to be following up on that with this one and promises to sue in 7 days. A few more stories from the front page of this Nigeria. 2024 budget, legislators to domicile 80 billion naira constituency projects in Labour Ministry. That's new. Unless I'm mistaken, Kayode. I'll take that again. 2024 budget, legislators to domicile 80 billion naira constituency projects in Labour Ministry. So what are the implications and dimensions to this? I guess you'll have to find out from the front page of inside pages rather, page 2 to be precise, of this Nigeria. I guess I'm going to be doing that as well.
Absolutely.
You're still turning it over in your mind, right?
So I'm thinking, I know there was this public works thing that the Ministry of Labour, well, then Minister of State for Labour, it was back and forth with the National Assembly. I'm talking about Mr. Festus Keyamo. So I don't know if this is the public works project or something else, and is this all of a constituency project or just some domicile, but certainly something to pay attention to.
Well, how far-reaching will it be? 80 billion naira, so 774 local governments. I'm just wondering. Well, one more before we exit this Nigeria. CBN blames DMB's customers' high-volume withdrawals for naira scarcity. That's a page 20 read. Let's leave it there for this Nigeria.
Well, some say, isn't it their money anyway? But we'll take a look at the Guardian newspaper. The previous paper was talking about things shrouded in secrecy. Well, the Guardian leads with something similar on a different scale this time around. We'll take a look at it. Asset declaration. 6 months on, Tinubu's net worth unknown. CSO's kick. And you see images of past 4 presidents Nigeria's had, including the current president, and, well, their assets declaration. So Yaradua declared his assets. Olusegun Obasanjo's assets in 1999 and 2007 unknown. You see former President Muhammadu Buhari's assets declaration known. Goodluck Jonathan's assets kept secret. And now there's a big question mark just under the current president's image, President Bola Tinubu. And you see, Part 1 of the 5th schedule to the 1999 Constitution provides that every public officer shall immediately after taking office and thereafter at the end of every 4 years and at the end of his or her term of office submit to the Code of Conduct Bureau a written declaration of all his properties, assets, and liabilities, and those of his unmarried children under the age of 18 years. So that is where we are right now. Transparency, accountability is a big deal here in Nigeria, and it's important for the leaders to set the tone. I mean, why would you then expect the citizens to be transparent and accountability? That's accountable rather. That's not an excuse, but we need to do the right thing. And you see this one, ECOWAS team negotiates with Niger on return to civil rule. That was a big one from the meeting yesterday and over the past couple of days. So what will come out of it? So it's there are two options, obviously, and it looks like ECOWAS is weighing both options. We'll see how this one, of course, plays out. I'll take one more for you. This will set a tone for a conversation we'll have on the program in the coming minutes. Nigeria lost over 15 multinationals in 3 years. It's a page 3 read on the Guardian newspaper. There's a couple more stories for you this Monday morning, but let's leave it there for the Guardian. Mark.
Well, looking at a number of other stories right here, enamored with quite a number of them. Let's take a look at leadership for you. They have a very interesting story. Usually at the end of the year, leadership has celebrates one person or sometimes two people. I have seen a situation where two people will be celebrated as Person of the Year or Persons of the Year, as the case might be. This year, they have chosen the president to be the Person of the Year 2023. So that's what's on their front page. And they've given a reason right there for can-do spirit that has marked him out as a quintessential politician for bracing monumental odds to emerge as the candidate of his party, the APC, and winning the 2023 presidential election, and for a raft of difficult but necessary decisions to reposition the country. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is Person of the Year 2023. That's what's on the front page of leadership newspapers. But interestingly, they also have another story right there on the top of the paper. And it simply says why Nigeria is going down. So I don't know if you can marry the two, if there's any point where they meet, or you might want to pick up a copy of the leadership and see just what else they might have on the inside. Let's leave it there for the paper.
And up next is the Nigerian Tribune this morning, which is also perhaps one of the building blocks of our conversation this morning. Not very cheery, but we can all reflect on it. Importers, exporters incur losses as exchange rates hike bites. And there's just one rider. Review exchange rate policy, CPPE tells CBN. It's a page 6 read. We gather that over the weekend the naira, weakened yet again against the dollar. So there's a need for more proactiveness on the part of the CBN on ways to firm things up in that market. There's also some stories above the nameplate. Coups, Tinubu wants transition plan for Niger, Mali, others. There's a couple of riders there, or one or two to be precise. Harps on good governance to address citizens' concerns. ECOWAS authority directs standby force activation in kinetic mode. Well, the first seems to be more instructive, particularly when you look at the socioeconomic conditions in most of these African countries. There's a huge amount of disillusion, particularly about good governance. Right beside it, Clark to Tinubu, applied doctrine of necessity to resolve Ondo impasse, condemns sharp division between Akeredolu, Ayedatiwa camps. Lawyers differ on forensic report on Akeredolu's signature. Interesting one there, and it's a page 22 read. So there's more confirmation that indeed the governor's signature may have been forged. And there's a big conversation on that on our sister political program, from about 2 days before, where the Commissioner of Information also spoke. As a matter of fact, she in fact confirmed that the governor has about 2 signatures or thereabout. So you can follow up on that, and perhaps, it will be reviewed in the coming days for another round of conversation. Let's leave it there for the Nigerian Tribune.
2 signatures?
Yes, she confirmed that.
I don't know if everybody has a luxury of 2 signatures, but take a look at the Nigerian Tribune right now. The Vanguard, I should say. We've gone through Nigerian Tribune. Vanguard is next with this one. Manufacturing sector bleeds as forex loss rises 400% to 466 billion naira. Squeezes profit by 24.6%. Leads to layoff of workers, multinationals exiting, threat to economy, analysts. It's on page 20. I think the story goes without saying. But then at the top left corner of the front page, you see the story from ECOWAS meetings. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso alliance won't weaken ECOWAS resolve for democracy. Tinubu. So he gave that speech yesterday, and there were resolutions from that meeting as well, which we'll be getting into for you during the course of the program. And let me just say, there was that standing ovation for President George Weah of Liberia, our outgoing president, for the fact that he accepted defeat and all. Incidentally, former President Goodluck Jonathan was also in the room. So it's like, okay, this is going round. Let's see if we can get to that point where we want to get to as a continent and sub-region.
Yeah, so the question is, as far as good governance is concerned, how much of good example is followed on the continent? Who's going to replicate the feat of, the example, the conduct of George Weah?
That's a real question right there. Well, there's Mr. and Mrs. for you, something to lighten the mood, and it's in the spirit of Christmas, I guess. And you see, Mr. Looking at a list, apparently Mrs. handed him a list, and he says, all the things on this list for Christmas, how am I sure the list is not padded? And you see Mrs. telling him. Well, take a look at it again and ask yourself whether you're going to have a Merry Christmas or not. And I just put it right that the choice is yours. Act wisely. Well, that's Mr. and Mrs. Just something to share.
A message for all Mrs. this morning.
And for all Misters, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Just let's give you this one. It broke just very early in the morning, and it's about the Federal University Lafayette. The kidnapped students, they have regained their freedom. That's from Channels Television, just to give you an update on that story as we do a rounds of all of the major stories making the rounds. So the students of Federal University Lafayette have regained their freedom. They were kidnapped recently, so that's some cherry news for you. That's the Vanguard newspaper. Mokwe.
Well, that's very interesting, considering the fact that the police had initially denied that anybody was kidnapped. I mean, they had said they hadn't heard from the school, and so couldn't confirm whether or not, students had been kidnapped. As a matter of fact, they denied all knowledge of that story. So it's a good thing that they eventually acknowledged, and that those students have now been rescued, and hopefully they are now going to be safe with their families. But let's quickly take a look at the Abuja Inquirer for you. It's right next. Yes, Abuja Federal Capital Territory is right next to Nasarawa State, where that university is. And here in Abuja, we're looking at this. AEPB raises alarm. Just in case you're wondering what the AEPB is, it is the Abuja Environment Protection Board, raising an alarm over unpaid bills threaten waste management in Abuja, alleges millions being owed, vows to seal up premises of debtors. So, debtors beware. Unpaid bills threaten waste management in Abuja. You'll find details on page 3 of the paper. On top of the nameplate, cool. ECOWAS sets condition for lifting Niger sanctions. That story is on page 3 of the paper for you. If you had any reason to be here in the Federal Capital Territory, on your way to the city gate, you would have seen that something very important was happening in the city, with all of the faces of the ECOWAS leaders put on streetlights on your way into the city, and then the flags of all the countries in the region also flying at full mast in strategic places in the city, welcoming the leaders and also signifying they're all meeting right here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. And this, of course, was the outcome of their meeting. Cool. ECOWAS sets conditions for lifting Niger sanctions. The story is on page 3 of the paper. You also find here at the bottom, Buhari's government left 1.5 trillion naira debt for Works Ministry. That's according to Dave Umahi. So, looks like they have, are they going to be clearing the debts first before they start any new work? I don't know, but you might want to read details on page 3 of the paper. Let's leave it there for the Abuja Inquirer.
And well, Daily Trust newspaper is what I'm looking at for you next. And, you know, it's a follow-up on the earlier side story from the front page of This Nigeria, where the CBN was blaming DMBs for Naira scarcity, sort of. But listen to this one. It's a further insight. Why Naira scarcity persists despite Supreme Court judgment. And there are 3 riders here for you. Queues for cash resurface. POS operators hike charges. Banks ration withdrawals, complain of cash limit. No need to panic. That's ascribed to a CBN official. I would have loved to know who the CBN official is, but it's a page 4 read. Well, look, it's Christmas, you know, and it's that time where you like to, you know, hand out a lot of Naira notes. You don't want to do transfers, you know. Family members are happier when they get Naira notes, so we hope that this is, you know, addressed in the shortest possible time so that we can celebrate with our Naira, however small the Naira is.
Naira is big, please. Have you seen the size of the Naira itself, the note?
Well, I hear you, Gandhi. I hear you. There's this one right under it. After suspending airport concession, FG budgets 85 million naira for consultancy. Well, that's not quite clear from you know, the headline, but it's a page 14 read nonetheless, so that you get further insight. There's, you know, but there are bigger problems on the hands of managers of the aviation sector. You know, there's the trap funds, and you know, from one of the other papers we read earlier on, possibility of foreign airlines exiting, particularly due to the foreign exchange crisis. So we've had 15 investors exit within 3 years. Are we going to have the same challenge in the aviation sector, or something for the managers of the economy to look into? Now, there's this one at the bottom strip that is a bit disturbing. After Daily Trust report, FG goes after kidney traders. Is that human kidney or animal kidney? It's a page 4 read. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust newspaper.
Well, finally, Business Day has this one. It's a big story. Flutterwave plots Africa remittance dominance with 13 U.S. licenses. So, well, we'll see in the coming days how this, of course, plays out, understanding how competitive that particular sector can be with innovations coming up here and there on a daily basis, literally. But next to that story is one that, well, is quite concerning. And you see, inflation pushes companies' salary costs to 13-year high. And you just wonder just how high can it get, really? Because for a lot of people, what they're earning right now is not even enough.
And inflation has gone ahead to diminish the purchasing power of most Nigerians.
So you just wonder, is this like the night before the morning, you know, the whipping that has endured for night and joy coming in the morning? Are we about to turn a curve? Is there a miracle about to happen? Just what is going to happen in the coming weeks? Big questions, really. I do not have the answers. I wish I did, but at least we can ask government and those responsible for it to give us answers and timelines as well, so we can work together. But there you have it. That's a look at the front pages for you this morning. You can see that it's going to be a very, very interesting week as we lead up to Christmas. But first, let's go on a break. And when we return, we'll get into the major discussions for the day. You do not want to miss this. Stay with us.